Right, Nick, thank you. 6:32, the man accused of abducting, molesting, and murdering 7-year-old Jareli Rivera will stay behind bars for the rest of his life. 20-year-old Ryan Brunn confessed and pleaded guilty in a Cherokee County courtroom yesterday. The details of his testimony are chilling. We even discussed whether we should air it at all, but we decided to air a portion of it so you can hear in his own words what he said he did and why.
And I was cleaning out the 10,000 building and came to a conclusion that was going to lure her in for sexual conduct with myself. I was just so terrified and scared that I didn't want her to go home and tell her mom or dad on me. And I cut her.
Now, as part of that plea deal, Brunn will not face the death penalty. He will be in jail the rest of his life, prison. I'm joined now by attorney B.J. Bernstein. B.J., thanks for joining us. First, we want to point out that you are not involved in Jareli's case at all, in this case in Cherokee County at all, but you've been a part of several very high-profile criminal cases. Are you at all surprised to see this guilty plea this soon in this case?
Well, it is unusual for it to be this quick because, as we all know, this is very recent and on our minds. And normally, a case takes like this, you know, a year to 3 years to make its way through the court system. But I think it's significant that they went ahead and resolved things, it appears, because of some of the reports that are out there of other conduct by Ryan Brunn.
Let's talk about that, BJ. Let's talk about that. Yesterday, we learned that while he didn't have a criminal history, GBI investigators say there were allegations of prior child molestation in Virginia, Lumpkin County, Georgia, where he lived before moving to Cherokee County. Listen to what GBI Director Vernon Keenan had to say about Brunn's past.
It is unusual for this type of perpetrator to go from fondling a child to a horrific crime of violence.
Now, do you agree with that? Is it really uncommon for a sexual predator to resort to murder?
You know, it really is. I mean, that is another step in it. We have a lot of cases out there, child molestation, based on a lot of different issues, whether the person has a predilection for children, alcohol issues. There's a lot of issues involved, but very rarely does it involve murder like it did in this case. So he's correct. And the judge was really keen, and Judge Mills up in Cherokee County, I've been before, was very thorough. That's why you had that very graphic testimony. I think partially to make sure that this plea, this defendant was competent to enter a plea, because normally in a case like this, you would look at the psychiatric background of the defendant, and with this going so quickly, it's hard to say how much examination had been done of him. So the judge is trying to protect the record here as well by getting that graphic detail.
At what point would you try to convince your client to go on and take this plea deal? Because part of the deal was he had to admit in the courtroom to what happened and what he had done. Would you ever try and do that with a client of yours?
Well, you try to look at each case individually. In this particular case, he apparently made statements and confessed. There was the note left on the trash can which had his handwriting that said the body is in here. So there was a mountain of evidence here, and with facing the death penalty, obviously that is incredible pressure on a defendant to say, you know, perhaps you need to step up now and go ahead and enter a plea. But each case is different, and this one, at least for that family, and you saw that mother in the courtroom, it is tragic what happened to them. And there is no closure. I'm never going to say there's closure with something like this, but not having to go through the agony of waiting years to know that your child's killer is not going to be out there again is something that I'm sure the DA wanted to give that family.
No questions in anyone's minds anymore. B.J. Bernstein, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.